Katie Arwood on behalf of OneBook1County.com and MCC Reads, and we're reading Virgil Wander as well as Running with Sherman. And today I get to welcome Ben Stancil from MCC.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Ben Stancil. I teach mostly writing here at MCC, so English 100 and 101, a little bit of creative writing as well as film studies. And I also focus with our dual enrollment group. So I teach English 100 and 101 at the various high schools for our dual enrollment groups. And I'm glad to be here and talk about books.
So what was your favorite book as a kid, Ben?
So favorite book as a kid, actually more so an author, Shel Silverstein, a classic poet, not a classic poet, but a poet. He came out of the 70s. I believe he's deceased now, but two books resonated with me when I was 7, 8 years old, an emerging reader. I believe my mom put them in my hands. One was called Where the Sidewalk Ends, beautiful collection of poems. Another was called A Light in the Attic, which I brought today.
So, have you had a favorite book that you'd like to recommend over the past year, or just a favorite read?
Yeah, I've been trying to read as best I can in the COVID-19. I find my mind wandering, so I've been actually using Audible with Amazon so I can listen to books. This particular book I started during the quarantine, and it is wonderful, a remarkable book. It's called Mythos by Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry is a British writer, actor, comedian, sort of a public intellectual, if you will. And this book is his retelling of Greek mythology, all these fantastic stories and characters, and it's in his own unique way that's very accessible for someone like me.
Do you have an all-time favorite book or a book you like to reread?
Yeah, I brought a copy of that as well. A book that I come back to quite frequently is called Love in the Time of Cholera. It's by one of my favorite authors, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a Colombian author, yes, wonderful. This book was made into a motion picture, which I didn't think fared well, but the book itself is wonderful. Marquez is a poetic writer, and he'll give you basically everything that you're looking for if you can stay with him. Wonderful, wonderful book.
So what's your favorite genre to read in, and why?
Okay, so a favorite current genre would be nonfiction, and I like to dabble a little bit in philosophy. And so, for example, I brought a copy of this slim volume. It's called Free Will by Sam Harris. It's philosophy at its finest. Once again, it's very accessible, which I always like. It's not too hard hitting. He sort of meets you halfway as he discusses these sort of universal things, good and evil, other sort of abstract concepts that get you thinking and sort of rattle the cages, if you will. And so this is an example of a kind of genre book that I would read in that realm.
Who are a few of your favorite authors?
A few of my favorite authors, one that stays with me is John Irving. I really, really love his book, A Prayer for Owen Meany. He had the Cider House Rules, the World According to Garp, many books made into movies. I love his stories, their adventure, their wit, their time period, and they have it all. He's to me the quintessential American author.
So what are your thoughts about libraries?
I love libraries. I grew up in a family that was moderately low income, and so we always had a couple things in our family. My mom would always get us a membership to the community pool, which I think was $5 for the year, and she would get us library cards. And so those were two places where I would go in the summers and on rainy days, and I really, really spent a lot of time in libraries as a young child, and then in college, when I would study for classes, I was in the libraries all the time. And now I take my kids to the libraries, and they know that they're going to get ice cream afterwards, so they like the library.
I love to ask people, if you were a book title, what would it be?
Yeah, I thought about. I saw this question, and I really like it. I was thinking it through as I was driving here today, and I think I'd go with this title. It's a made-up title. I make up my own title, so it would be Curiosity Saved the Cat. When I was in college, I had a couple of failed attempts at college. I started at Hope College and sort of drifted out of that. took a couple years off. I was actually a person that did several gap years at different times. And it was always the curiosity that brought me back to higher ed. And the idea, I was curious about what I could be, and I was also becoming more and more curious about the content. Curiosity has sort of, I would think, saved my life. So curiosity saved the cat.
Thanks for visiting the MCC Library, Ben.
Thank you for having me.